Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're dialing in from. Welcome to this information session for the IHS PhD program. We see a very good attendance here. This is nice and encouraging. Warm welcome from all of us at currently rainy Rotterdam. Really nice to see you all here. We have about an hour. In this hour, we will talk about the IHS PhD program. We'll give you an overview of what the program is like, what we are looking for, what you could expect if you sign up for the program. And there will be ample room for you to ask questions. So let's first introduce the team that is currently online. These are the following people. That is, hey, that's me there on the left side of things. And then with us today is Annette, who's the program manager, Lou, who is our program officer, and then there is Nathalie, who is the admissions officer and recruitment officer. And also with us today is Jia Long, who's one of the PhD researchers in the program, who's almost done, and we will talk to him later on. If you have any questions today, then you are free to post them in the Q&A box, which you see on the top of your screen. And Lou and Nathalie are both monitoring that stream and will try to answer your questions on the spot. And if not, then we will forward them later on when we do the Q&A bit. And just a reminder ourselves, you cannot unmute yourself. So all the questions, please post them then in the Q&A box and we'll make sure to deal with it. So, with that out of the way, we would like to talk about what this PhD program is about. And I actually have to start with the question, what is a PhD degree? So what is it that you can expect here? Well, here's my short takeaway of the whole thing. It means definitely sleepless nights. It sometimes means very much lack of sleep. It means we're dealing with imposter syndrome. It feels that you may have been the smartest in the classroom before, and now you feel that maybe you're not the smartest anymore. You will develop an unhealthy ramen and coffee addiction, sometimes both, or either one of the other or the other. And you have so many deadlines. And it's 4 years, but those 4 years fly by, as we will hear later on. It really is quite an intense ride. Of course, I say this with tongue in cheek. All of this is true, but also another thing, there are also other things that are true about the PhD. And that is on the more serious note that although it is a lot of sleepless nights and hard work and rejection, also it is a very much an intellectual endeavor of which it's really unique, to be honest. A PhD also means showing yourself, proving yourself as an independent academic, scientist or academic, either way. And in many cases, it is an entrance to the academic world. For many roles, it's actually mandatory. However, I always prioritize the intellectual endeavor first, and then the practical bits about this being necessary for academic positions. The note here says that it is a life-changing experience, and that is sometimes that's marketing hyperbole, but in this world, actually, it is true. I find many of the people who come here from other parts of the world and spent 4 years in the Netherlands doing research, they grow in many ways, not just intellectually, but they also grow in terms of independence. They grow in terms of how they look at the world, and they return to their own places with much more self-confidence and, of course, a lot of knowledge, but also having had this experience of being abroad for so many years and working in a different context with different people. That definitely is a life-changing experience. And the last one I always like is that it is, look, if you're in a normal job, you don't get much opportunities to look behind the curtain, so to speak. But as a PhD researcher, you have a license to spy. You can go to other organizations, you can interview people, you can observe things, you go to different sites. It is this part of the job where you see more of the world than in many other types of jobs. So that is what this PhD is about, what it sort of asks from you and what it can deliver for you. And I think this is worthwhile. I would also like to talk a bit about what it is not. It is not a master's program. We sometimes get that question and people think that it's just exactly the same. So taking courses, doing exams, and then be done. It is not. It is very much about crafting your own intellectual journey. It's about developing an independent voice, and obviously you will have to take some courses, but the main part of the program is doing independent research, and that is what it's all about. Sometimes I get a question, is it like a master thesis, but with more words, a higher word limit? It is not, actually. A master thesis is a proof that you mastered the stuff that you have learned in a program. A PhD thesis is telling the world what you have developed independently. And that is an important difference there. Whereas in a master thesis, you will carry out the task that you're being asked to do. In a PhD thesis, you get to craft your own tasks. And the PhD defense is literally that. It's a defense where you show that you have become an independent academic voice. The third question we often receive is, to what extent is this practical and is the problem-solving thing? And the answer is, well, it's primarily a scholarly piece. It's an academic piece of work. It's an academic journey. And it may have practical implications, but in reality, that comes secondary. The primary goal is that you have advanced academic knowledge. And of course, then as a consequence of that, you may also be able to understand practical urban problems better. That would be great. And the last thing I would like to highlight here is that of all the things that a PhD is, easy it is not. It's challenging. It is a real challenge. Going back to what I said earlier, many folks who sign up for this, they used to be really the top level students, and in many ways they still are. But you will find yourself in a competitive environment where the standards are very high, and the people you're working with have not very high standards and try to achieve a lot. It is not an easy thing to do in those 4 years. So let's have a quick overlook at the PhD program here. Currently, we have about 18 people in the program. Say about, and not fully 18, because we have a few people who do it on the side next to other tasks and work. But 18 people are in the program then, and we have had 23 people who already graduated from 17 different countries. And of course, we will share the slides with you, but here you can see a few testimonies of people who already are, in some ways, or completed it or are about to complete the program. Then onto the different research fields. It's an urban studies program, and urban studies is a very broad field. And that means that we can host very many different things. I've listed the most important bits here. So there's urban governance, urban climate change and resilience, urban planning, housing, urban social and spatial development, digital infrastructures and smart cities, social justice and gender, urban transportation and mobility. What I would like to emphasize here is that it's a social science program. And that means that if you come from a non-social science background, you can definitely work with us. We have no problems with that. However, your degree will be a social science degree, so you will have to specialize yourself in social sciences. I put emphasis on this because we occasionally get people who come from civil engineering or from data science, and who do not have a background in social sciences. For them, they need to work a bit harder on that particular aspect. So they have to get a bit more well-versed in doing social science. Then onto the specifics of the program. What does it look like? It is in principle, it's a 4-year trajectory. Our experience tells us that you need those 4 years. We have some flexibility here. Some people need a bit more time. That is no problem at all. We can do this. Some people finish it quicker, which is always a bit scary, but really good news. Most people you need about 4 years there or thereabout. It's a very international program. We have people from all over the world. Currently, only one person who is from the Netherlands, but she's based in the Middle East. And part of that of the appeal of the program is that international environment, because you get to work with and talk to people who are from other parts of the world and bring in very different experiences. We have a course program that is offered by the Graduate School of the Social and Behavioral Sciences and Humanities. And there is not a strict limit as to how many courses you can take or should you take. There are a couple of mandatory courses you must take. Other than that, you get to craft, again, you get to craft your own trajectory. And if you feel you would like to do this course or that course because you need that skill for your research, then that freedom is there. You have your own place to work at our floor. If you become part of IHS, you also by default become part of a very large community of academics and practitioners, and that can be, it's not just it can be, it is very useful and a very good kind of network to be part of. Now, some more practicalities. I would like to talk about the applications. And the applications are on a round base. We'll later on get to that to discuss with you the specifics of it. But before we go to the applications, we'll do a quick overview of what that PhD trajectory looks like. As I said, 4 years. The first year is usually spent to develop a formal research proposal. Of course, when you apply, you will be asked to already give us a fierce understanding of what you would like to research. Usually you need the first 6, 8 to 10 months to flesh it out in detail, to see how it relates to current insights in literature, check if you could actually have the access to the data, what have you not. And year 2 and 3 are then primarily about data collection, refining your analysis, writing up your results. And in the 4th year, normally, is where you finish your manuscript and hand it in. You will be granted 4 full years. It means that between submitting your thesis and the actual defense will be approximately another 6 months. And that has to do with the reading time that the committee needs. But this is not a time where you need to be doing many things. So you just wait for the committee to respond. Ultimately, it is 4 years of pure research time. And then if all goes well, you will be able to do the presentation, defend, and graduate, and have food and drinks at our department. So that is the program in an overview. I'm sure you now have questions about how the admission procedure goes and what kind of requirements we have. So for this, I would like to hand over to Nathalie, who will talk you through these practical details.
Yes, thank you so much, Lasse. I will go over the admission requirements and the application process we have set in place at IHS. I just wanted to start off with our admission requirements. So what it is that we really expect from our PhD applicants. So first of all, of course, we expect that you finish a bachelor's and master's degree from a recognized university in a field related to urban development and governance. This can, for instance, be disciplines such as urban planning, environmental studies, or geography. As Lasse mentioned, we primarily support social science-based research, so please do keep in mind when you apply to our PhD program. We also take a look at your academic performance. So we expect the equivalent of a first-class degree. So this means a GPA of 3.6, A-, or a Dutch grade of 8.0. Of course, we also understand that, in different countries, there's different grading schemes, and maybe your grading schemes does not directly reflect the numbers on the screen, but we're happy to take a look and also think along. At the end of the presentation, you will also find our email address, and we're really there for you if you have any questions about this as well. Then third, you need to submit a research proposal or outline. We provide templates for both, and you are required to use one of the templates that we provide for you. If you have a full research proposal, that is great. If you're still developing your idea, you're also welcome to submit just the outline in the initial application stage. As Lasse mentioned, we work with a series of thematic fields. The only exception to the thematic fields that we cannot support are indeed the very specialized technical fields such as engineering or medicine. So please, when you are applying, consider that those topics are just simply outside of our scope and that we cannot provide you with the needed supervision. Last but not least, we also take a look at your command of English. We accept the TOEFL and the IELTS test for this, and I will touch upon this a little bit more in the next page when I talk about your application package. So when you decide to submit your application, you will first be led to our admission portal. As with any application, you need to fill out some personal information, so your name, email address, but also a motivational statement about why it is that you want to pursue your PhD at IHS, of all places. We also ask that you submit your CV so we get a better understanding of who it is that you are as a person and your experience. As I mentioned, we also need the official copies of your diploma certificates and transcripts. If you have completed your program in a different language than in English, we also ask that you upload a translated version of this, because otherwise we just simply cannot interpret the scores or the courses that you've taken. Going back to the research outline or full research proposal, like I mentioned, we provide templates for this, so please also use them because they are part of our review process. Then to give you a little bit more of detailed information on this English test, as I mentioned, we accept the IELTS or the TOEFL test. We have some minimum requirements in terms of what it is that you need to score. For the IELTS, we accept the overall score of 7.0 with a minimum score of 6.0 on each subsection. For the TOEFL, these scores are 600 minimum for the paper-based test, 250 for the computer one, and 100 for the internet-based test. There are some exemptions in delivering this additional proof of English proficiency, which is if you've completed your master's in one of the countries that are mentioned on the screen, your master's diploma in that case will be sufficient proof of your English proficiency. Last but not least, we also ask that you submit a funding plan. Our PhD program is a tuition fee-based program, and we want to better understand how it is that you plan to fund your studies. This does not need to be a very detailed or very long plan, but for instance, if you are interested in a specific scholarship or if you've already been awarded the scholarship, we'd like to understand this a bit more in detail. Your funding and what it covers, it's the academic guidance and also the development during your PhD journey. You will, of course, have your own supervisory team. You will get the opportunity to bounce ideas off of the IHS expert staff. And like Lasse mentioned, you can enroll in as many courses as you want to also help further develop your skill set. We also have various resources, facilities, and software support, and we also have event participation. We, for instance, have our PhD Colloquia series, which gives our PhD researchers the opportunity to present their research and the stage that they're in that moment. To fellow PhD researchers and IHS staff, it's really a moment where you can let your fellow colleagues know where you're at in your research and also to have a discussion. We also have a Science Sofa series, so we invite external experts in their field to IHS so they can give a presentation on their research, and it's really just a great way to get better connected to other researchers. There's also other means that are covered in the tuition fees, such as even a Grammarly account access, so you can always check your grammar, but also administrative support and campus facilities. We understand that finding funding can be difficult, and while we do not offer our own scholarship, we do have a very helpful scholarship page on our website that outlines each scholarship we have identified over the years per country. So we really try to help you that way, so it's easy for you to navigate and really find the scholarships that are most applicable to your specific case. Just to also give a general overview of the application rounds, as Lasse mentioned, we accept applications based on rounds. There are a total of 5 rounds per academic year. We ask that you please plan accordingly, especially for our scholarship-dependent candidates. It's important that we have your application in time also for your scholarship deadline. And also, please make sure that you have the complete application package submitted. If there's any documents missing, there's a chance that you will be moved around, as we're just simply unable to review everything if the application package is not complete. Also, just to touch upon the topic of a residence permit and the search here. So any applicant who's not from the EU or EEA region, you need to have a residence permit if you're staying in the Netherlands is longer than 90 days. we apply for this residence permit for you. So this is not really something you need to worry about. And we are there to guide you along this process, as well as the international office of the Erasmus University. Upon completion of the PhD program, you are, however, responsible to apply for a research year visa. So this means that you have a year post-graduation to seek employment in the Netherlands if this is something that you're interested in. The IND, which is the Immigration and Naturalization Department of the Netherlands, does need additional proof of income. So this is called your living cost. This is set by the IND. This is not something we can have any say in. Right now, there's approximately a budget of 1,700 allocated for a single person. So this is something you also need to prove when we apply for your residence permit. It is also possible to bring family members along with you when you pursue your PhD here, but this is something that needs to be looked at a case-by-case basis and also according to your individual circumstances. I can imagine for many, it can also be exciting to move to a new city maybe or a different country. So I also just wanted to share a little bit about Rotterdam. Many of you may know the city for its architecture. It's a very contemporary city, so there's lots of postmodern architecture, especially considering the city was bombed during the Second World War. It's also constantly innovating, so there's a lot of projects going on. An example is, for instance, Resilient Rotterdam, who focuses on climate resilience projects, has projects surrounding the port. And it's really just a playground for any urban planner or researcher or urban enthusiast in that sense. It's also considered the most international city in the Netherlands. There's about 170 nationalities in the city, lots of great cuisines to try. So yeah, it's a very nice city. Everyone virtually speaks English, so it's very easy to land in, let's say. I also very quickly wanted to talk about our campus. You see, having a campus in the Netherlands is quite unique. We are located at the Woudescience campus in the Netherlands. Outside of your own facilities on the IHS floor, you can also make use of the campus facilities. There's, for instance, various study areas, a food court, sports facilities, and also a brand new library. There's even a hair salon for those interested. And if you ever need something from the real city center, if you will, it's also only a 50-minute bike ride. I can go on and on about the city and our campus, but I also think it's nice if you get the experience from someone who has lived through the PhD program and just get that firsthand experience. So for that, I will give the floor back to you, Lasse. So you can introduce our current PhD researcher, Jalon.
Thank you so much, Nathalie. And suffice to say that the campus indeed has lots of facilities, though the hair shop is something I never tried. So just as a quick reminder to everyone, if you have questions, please post them in the Q&A box so that people, our staff can pick them up, and also that they don't pop up in the feed. Now, of course, as Nathalie said, we think we have a very good program. We can talk about this for ages, but it's much nicer to hear from someone who's been through all the motions. And so I would like to introduce to you one of our PhD researchers who finished his PhD already, Jalon. Good afternoon, Jalon. Thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Perhaps, Jalon, as a quick introduction, could you say a few words about your background and the topic you're researching?
Yes, sure. Thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Jalom. I'm currently a PhD candidate at IHS. I'm actually defending my PhD next week, so already pretty close to the end of my PhD. But before coming to Rotterdam, I did my master's in the University of Manchester in the UK, and also my bachelor's in China. So I have, been moving between cities and the countries for a while, which I think this also shaped how I approach urban studies. As for my research, my PhD is essentially asking like who's getting participating in smart city transitions and who's get left out. So basically focus on the inclusion of smart cities. I look at these through comparative case studies across China and Europe. I use mixed method to understand how governance arrangement and the contextual factors shape whether these transitions are actually inclusive. So that's all about my background and the research topic.
Thanks, Jialong. And again, quick reminder to folks, please post in the Q&A box if you have any questions. Now, Jialong, what in your research was the most surprising finding? Something you did not expect to find, but here it turned up.
Well, thank you so much for the question. I think probably the finding that challenges my own like assumption the most was like the relationship between the economic background and the smart city development status, because like in the literature, it is expected that the wealthier or the richer or more developed cities would be like further ahead in building inclusive smart cities. But what I found in my research is that there is actually another way or a pathway that, some smart cities with relatively, lower economic background, they actually can also perform very well across multidimensional of smart city development. So what made this difference was like their emphasis on investment in human capital and acknowledgement, not the money. So that was surprising because it also has real policy implementation. Like that means the smart investment matters more than the resource abundance. So I would say that's one of the most interesting or surprising finding in my research.
And I imagine this is also, I mean, it's a good academic finding, but I imagine that this is also a really important finding in terms of policy recommendations, is it not?
Yes.
So, how would you? So you've been here for 4 years, and you're about to defend. How would you describe the research environment at IHS?
Regarding the research environment, I would say like my situation is a bit different because my promoters are not from IHS, but my only my daily supervisor is. But even so, I still feel very strong support from IHS, like both academically and administratively. Um, from the administrative side, people like Lou, Annette, and also Natalie are very helpful. I've basically never had worry about any administrative issues. So no matter about the workshops, organization, the meeting room bookings, or the in reimbursement for like conference attending or the graduation process, I I have received a lot of support from them. And regarding the academic side, Laza isn't my official supervisor. He has always been very patient and helpful for me, especially when with the methodological questions. And there are also many other faculty members at IHS who are, always open to discussion, especially if your topic or interest are relevant with others. And the more importantly, the PhD community. I think that's also what I will miss the most after graduated. It is a very international and a very inclusive group because all the colleagues are from different backgrounds and different countries. We also have regular social events like potlucks or excursions. So where we can share our recent issues or recent progress, and more importantly, support each other. So from my perspective, IHS is a very friendly, supportive, and inclusive institute.
Uh,
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm very glad to hear that. That is exactly also what we want to be. So I'm glad to hear that it's working. So we've got about 50 people currently in the session who all consider doing a PhD. What is your piece of advice now that you're at the end of the trajectory? What is your piece of advice, very generally speaking, to these aspiring PhD researchers?
About the advice, I think For me, the most important thing is to be very clear about why you want to do a PhD, like what is your motivation is, because PhD is a very long journey. You will focus on one specific topic around 4 years or even 5 years sometimes. You need to be genuinely interested in it and have very strong motivation to keep exploring it deeply. So there is a very simple way for you uh, to judge by yourself. Like if you can enjoy reading an entire book related to the topic you are interested in, and after that you still feel very curious and interested to learn more about that, then that's a good sign that you have the right motivation for doing a specific topic in your PhD. That's my advice, I would say.
Yeah, very good. No, excellent. Absolutely. And what did you, from your own experience, what did you consider the most challenging in those 4 years for
I would
yourself?
say, well, for me, I would say it's a bit tricky because I started my PhD during the COVID. So in the
Ah,
first and the second year is difficult to collect the data. So in the beginning, I was very confused about the direction of my PhD, like what kind of data I can collect it without doing interviews or without doing field trips. But everything has been solved also because of my supervisory team give me a lot of feasible solutions. Like I can collect the policy document online across different cities, so that helped me to solve that problem. I think that's my biggest challenge during my PhD. But after that, my PhD journey has been much more smoother.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, COVID was indeed a very big challenge, and it's very great that you've managed to navigate that and managed to put your thesis together. You will defend soon, and you look very relaxed for someone who's about to defend the thesis, which is very good. What is the thing that you're most proud of coming out of this PhD trajectory?
Um, that's a very nice questions. I think for me, what I am proud most of is a sense of achievement. I mean, after all these years of effort, getting the PhD brings a strong feeling of achievement.
Yeah,
Well, not just the title, but more importantly than the title is about the experience behind it. During the PhD journey, you will experience like the ups and the downs, the challenges, the uncertainty, of course, and also more importantly, the growth. So when I finally getting to, finish it, I gain a lot of confidence that comes from the inner side. So it
yeah.
makes me feel like whatever challenges come next, I'm able to handle them. So I think this is the things that I'm most proud of.
And it's so interesting you're saying that because that resonates strongly also with my own experiences. It's a huge challenge, and knowing that you have done it and that you've completed it, it gives so much confidence that you can face any other challenge after this. And I totally recognize what you're saying here. So thank you so much for that. Is it possible? Do you already know what you will do after this? Can you share something about this, or are you still searching around for options?
But currently, I have been busy preparing my defense, and also I have a paper to revise. So I haven't looking for too many um, opportunities like postdoc recently, but after my graduation, I think I will keep looking for a postdoc.
Mhm.
That would be my preference.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to continue at the university.
Yes.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much, Yalong. I really appreciate that you made the time to join us, even though it's so shortly before your actual defense. Um, it was really nice chatting to you and hearing about your experiences. And I suggest that we conclude the formal bit of this session here, and that we should shift to the Q&A. So for everyone who has questions to me, to Jialong, to perhaps Lou or Natalie, feel free to keep posting your questions in the Q&A box, and we pick them up and we will start talking about or discussing the questions you may have. So Nathalie, perhaps we can move on to the Q&A bit. Are there any questions we, Jialong, me, or someone else could address right now? I see there's a couple of questions that are relatively simple to answer. Yes, there will be a copy of the presentation made available. There is a question on whether it will be on-site only or on campus or also off campus. To that one, I would like to answer that at least part of it is on campus, on site. This has very good reasons. And the main reason is that being here within the research environment makes a noticeable difference to your experience. Being a researcher, being part of that academic community, feeling motivated, seeing examples of others, that makes a huge difference. That's not to say that people always need to be here. We occasionally allow folks to shift to, maybe they need to be away for a while, and that is absolutely fine. However, we primarily recommend people to be here. So the default mode is be at the campus, engage with the academic community. If necessary, we can look at specific arrangements for you to accommodate whatever you need. I look at other questions. Folks, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box because I can't monitor two channels at the same time.
Yeah. So we have a question from Teresa, who finished her Master of Science in Sweden. Congratulations about that. Are you still required to submit proof of English proficiency? Yes, in your case, Teresa, you are required to still provide the proof, as it's really only the countries that are mentioned in my previous slide that are exempt from taking the English test. We also have a question from Shushant. Are there any active India-specific scholarship available for the upcoming intake? You can find all relevant scholarships for Indian residents on the scholarships page that I mentioned. The QR code will lead you directly to the page, and you can see which one fits your specific needs and requirements. Then Lasse, maybe for you, Wu has a question about her grade point average. She is currently, I think, still enrolled at a Dutch university and has a grade of 7.8. Does that strictly rule her out, or is there room for a holistic review of applications?
That's a very good question, and thanks for asking. The answer is that we will look into this. We put that rule there for good reasons, because we find that 8 or above is a good predictor for people also being successful in the program. So I still use it as a yardstick when we assess your application. However, there could be very good reasons why 7.8 is close enough, and in that case, we just simply look at your CV, your track record, we look at your motivation, your research proposal, and then make a decision on that. So you could definitely give that a try. Thanks for asking. And there's a question that came in specifically for Jialong. So the question comes from Ali Reza, and she asked, or he or she, sorry, asked, how were your PhD studies funded, Jialong? If you could answer that.
So, sorry, the question was, how were my PhD funded?
Yes.
Yeah, so my situation is a bit special because my promoter is from Rotterdam School of Management. So he covers part of my tuition fees and the living experience of my PhD at IHS. But on the other side, I also paid some of the tuition fees and the living expense by myself. So I didn't get a scholarship from my country or from IHS. So that's my situation.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jialong. This is a good reminder to ourselves that the IHS website has an overview of the scholarships specifically for each region in the world. If you have questions about your part of the world and what kind of scholarships are available, you could use that website as a starting point, including the deadlines for applications. There are also there. We regularly update this. This is not the complete overview. There may be others too, but this could be a very good starting point for you to start searching for scholarship opportunities. But as Jialong says, it's also possible to fund it by yourself or any other channel, really. Good. Natalie, are there any other questions you would like me to pick up?
We have a few more questions coming in. One is from Ajeng, if I'm pronouncing that right, who's asking about the admission requirements. He has no formal work experience yet, but has joined competitions, internship, and freelance project, and recently graduated with a bachelor's degree in landscape architecture. And he's asking if he's still eligible to apply to IHS. Maybe I can answer this one, Lasse.
Yeah, please go ahead.
For our PhD program, unfortunately, you are not eligible, as a master's degree is one of the requirements. At IHS, we also offer a master's program, and I think with your background, it's definitely interesting to maybe consider applying for that. The PhD supervisors are also part of the thesis supervision going on in our master's program. So it could also be a very nice way for you to, get familiarized with the institute, our supervisors, and maybe even start your PhD research topic during your master program, depending on how things go. And if maybe that could be a potential option.
Exactly.
But for the
go ahead.
But for the PhD program, I just wanted to emphasize a master's degree really is a requirement.
Yeah, it's mandatory indeed, but it's a very nice. It's very nice how you propose that, Natalie, because you could do a master's at IHS, get your degree, then you have a year also to figure out for yourself how it works for you at IHS and in Rotterdam, and then you can build on that. So very good recommendation. Thanks, Natalie.
I see my colleague also answered some questions already in the chat. We have one question who's from Mara, who is asking if her background in architecture, heritage preservation, and sustainable material research, do you think, Lasse, that this profile could be a good fit for the PhD track?
So we get lots of questions every time when we do sessions, like we get lots of questions about specific profiles. So instead of answering directly for this particular profile, because I would have to look into it into a bit more depth, I think it's very useful to repeat what we said before, and that is that it's a social science program, and that that we would expect people to know about state of the art in social sciences. That's not to say that if you haven't studied that you do not know anything about this or you will never be admitted, but we want to see some proof, some evidence that you can do this. As an urban studies program, I understand we often get people who come from with a design background, and we have people. One of the PhDs that I supervise is a landscape architect originally, but then has shifted. Did a master's actually at IHS. So it's not impossible, but it's not a design program. So if you would like to do a PhD on a particular urban design, be it a site, be it a spatial plan or a specific type of building, then that is not necessarily the quickest way into the program. It might be difficult to then keep up, to catch up with the social science background. Good.
I hope that's clear for you, Mura. I see that you also have a follow-up question about the English requirement that we have set in place. So your current score is 5.5, but you were recently accepted into Erasmus Plus short program in July. Congratulations. I hope you have a lot of fun. You can conditional admission indeed to the program if all their requirements are met. And you can also submit your improved IELTS test at a later date. This is definitely possible. So yeah, also the rest, you can always get a conditional admission if you meet the other requirements, where the condition to be met can, for instance, be your English test. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm also going through the questions. I see someone else ask about the part-time option. Yeah, I mean, and part-time and off-site, because these are two different things. It is not impossible, but we're a bit hesitant about that. So if this is what you would like to do, we have to discuss the specific details of your plan. On the whole, the feedback, we have a few people who do this, but the feedback we always got is that their research accelerates whenever they are on site and within the community. They really see that as points in time when they really when their project really picked up steam. So it's not impossible, but also it's not something we really encourage, because it is very hard to be away from campus and to work and then to motivate yourself during the weekends or whatever to work on your PhD. It's quite a big ask, and very few people are able to pull that off successfully. Not to discourage you from doing it, but just being very realistic about how demanding that would be. Are there any other questions, Nathalie, that we should pick up on?
There is a follow-up question on the proof of English proficiency. Can it also be a certification from a Swedish university that the medium of instructors of the master's program in English, would this suffice? Unfortunately not. We do really expect an IELTS or a TOEFL test. This is something also, maybe to explain the reasoning behind it, this is something set by the broader university. So this is just simply not something that we can, it's not something we decided on our own.
No, exactly, Nathalie. It's very good you say that, because it is not, we would not be hesitant, because we know the level of English in Sweden is very high, but it is a recent national policy from the Dutch government, and unfortunately we have to comply.
I'm just going to switch back to the Q&A tab. I see that there's also some questions in there.
If you have questions, please post them in the Q&A box, which you see on the top of your screen, so we can pick it up in the right spots.
We have a question from Alicia. She has 6 years of professional experience in developing master plans and in consulting teams with a master's degree in remote sensing and GIS. She only has one publication. Is it typically a requirement that they need more publications or experience to be counted in their review of their application?
In short, the answer is no, that's not required. By the way, congratulations with your publication. That is really nice. Having publications is a really good thing to have, but it's not necessarily going to make the difference there. Again, it is very good you have it, but what we're primarily interested in, what are your plans? What is your proposal? How do you engage with current insights, academic insights? How is your project going to add to what is there in terms of academic insights? Because as I said earlier in this in the presentation, it is an academic program. The PhD is there to show that you're an independent intellectual. That's what you have to prove, and that's what the PhD is about, and that is what we're primarily focused on. But again, as said, if you have a publication out, that's really good, because it shows you that you already know how to publish at an academic level.
I also see some new questions coming in our chat. We have a question from Walid, who is currently working in Rome as a program officer for Africa at the International Center for the Study of Cultural Preservation. You are Egyptian with an EU working permit. What is the fees category I should follow? And if you can follow the program virtually with frequent travels, perhaps.
So on the last bit, I can start with that one. I think it's very much in line with what I said in answer to questions from others on this thing. It is not impossible to not always be on site. Please notice I'm very cautious about the way I phrase this. We strongly prefer people to be on site because from our experience, this is the quickest way, the most efficient way of making your research work. We do occasionally have people who go elsewhere for their work or family need to travel, and we try and accommodate that, but it's not something we strongly encourage. Following the program virtually no, the program is primarily designed around your presence and interaction with staff. I mean, it's a time of technological progress. So yes, we can do things online, but the program is really primarily based on this face-to-face interaction on site. I see, Nathan, we got a few questions about whether IHS can pay or compensate. I think you already answered it, but since the questions keep popping up, I'll repeat it again. IHS itself does not fund PhD positions. We do not have scholarships, unfortunately. We wish we would, but we can't. We don't have that. And also, no, we don't offer teaching assistant positions that are paid for, unfortunately. For lots of boring bureaucratic reasons, by the way, which I will not repeat here, but the long and short of it is that we are unfortunately unable to do anything in terms of funding your research project.
We have another question, Lasse, from Adilet. He mentioned that every PhD case is unique. This is indeed true. However, there are commonly used research methodologies amongst current PhD candidates and students. I am guessing, Adilet, that you're asking this to Jialong, maybe. Can you clarify what your question is?
And while we get more answers to that, I can already say, yeah, there are some commonalities. And the commonalities is that it's primarily social science based. We don't mind, or that's the wrong phrase. You can use quantity and qualitative methods, or mixed methods is something that we see a lot these days. Very encouraging. We sometimes see people modeling things. But very often it always is within the realm of social science methods. We often get people who apply with a GIS background, Geographical Information Systems background, for those of you who do not know that abbreviation. And that's an interesting tool, but it is not the primary tool. So if your research is only on GIS, unfortunately, we are not able to supervise that in good detail. I see there's another question, Nathan. Shall I continue? Because we're still waiting for that other one, right?
Yeah, we're still waiting. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We have 5 more minutes.
We got a very interesting question, which I really like as an academic myself. Do you explain the difference between the difference between social science or urban studies? In our view, urban studies is a subset of social sciences. As I said, the degree is in the social sciences. As applied to urban specific problems. It's not a design program, just to emphasize that. Having said that, I need to explain something about the peculiarities about the Dutch PhD system. You do not get your degree in a field, you get your degree for your topic. So Jialong, for example, will not get a degree in the social science, he will get a degree for his research into comparative research into smart cities. That is different in some other countries where you graduate in the field. In the Netherlands, you graduate on the topic. You're a specialist, an expert on that topic, and that's recognized in your PhD degree. We can take a few more questions, Natalie, before the session ends.
Yes, I see we have some general questions about whether someone's background is eligible for the PhD program. The truth is that we cannot give a full assessment of your profile based on this information alone. So we take a look at the entire application package. As I mentioned, there's a lot of documents that you need to provide us with, and neither Lasse or myself can give a definite answer on whether or not your background fits, because it also depends on your research proposal and the topic that you apply with.
Yeah, this is 100% correct. So if you have very detailed questions about your background, the best way is to send us an email with that question, and then we can look at it into more detail. But it's really hard to, on the spot, say things about whether your specific profile fits. Well, look, thanks a lot for all your questions. Very, very good. And I hope it was helpful for you in understanding what the program is about and how we go about and what the experience is. are from people who are already in the program. We can stay connected if you wish. So Natalie, please tell us how we can stay connected.
Yes. With only a few more minutes, I indeed wanted to just share the ways in which you can reach out to us, because we simply do not have enough time to answer every question in this session alone. You can easily reach out to us via email. The admissions office is there to help, but also our course inquiries team, who can answer any questions that you have about the program itself, but also the application process. You can also follow us on social media. We share stories about our current PhD researchers, their topics, and also our supervisory team. This session will also be sent to you. It is recorded and will send to you after the meeting, and it will also be posted on our YouTube channel. I hope everyone enjoyed it. As I mentioned, if you have any other questions, we really look forward to hearing from you. I wish you all a very great day. Thank you, Jialong, also for joining and for making space in your very busy schedule in the preparations to your defense. I'm sure everyone who is here today wish you the best of luck next week.
Yeah, thanks a lot all. In particular, thanks to Jialong. Best of luck. I'm sure you'll make us all proud in your defense. Thank you all for having joined us. Feel free to post your questions later on by email. We're happy to answer them. And that then ends the session for now.